What's good? Welcome back to SeedSoilWater. My name is Brittany Sunshyne, and we are breaking the habit of being ourselves by studying Dr. Joe Dispenza's book. And we are in the middle of it. Check out the whole playlist if you haven't already, and you can watch it piece by piece. A couple disclaimers. Wowza, I don't know about you, but my life has taken a giant shift in terms of seasons and quite frankly, a season has kind of snuck up on me that I was not anticipating at all. So it's really beautiful. It's very much in alignment with my soul and my purpose and really like the vision that I had for my life since I was a little girl. And I would never thought it was coming around again. So anyway, my disclaimer is that I will be pursuing that, but I definitely feel the nudge to finish this book at the very least. So I'm going to finish this, and I don't know what the future of this channel will hold. It's still taking shape right now, how this new season is going to come together in the 3D, and we will see what it looks like. But I am just riding the wave and hanging on. And also, I'm super stoked about it. So stay tuned. Let's get into it right now. The frontal lobe, domain of creation and change. When we are in creation, we are activating the brain's creative center, the frontal lobe, which is part of the forebrain comprising the prefrontal cortex. This is the newest, most evolved part of our brain, our human nervous system, and the most adaptable part of the brain. It tends to be the creative center of who we are and the brain's CEO or decision-making apparatus. The frontal lobe is the seat of our attention, our focused concentration, our awareness, our observation, and consciousness. Man, that's a lot. It is where we speculate on possibilities, where we demonstrate firm intention, where we make conscious decisions, where we control impulsive and emotional behaviors, and where we learn new things. For the sake of our understanding, the frontal lobe performs three essential functions. These will all come into play as you learn and practice the how-to meditative steps for breaking the habit of being yourself in part 3 of this book. This is a huge book, by the way. I read it and I forgot how big of a undertaking it is now that I'm actually recording it like for you. Metacognition, becoming self-aware to inhibit unwanted states of mind and body. So valuable. If you want to create a new self, you first have to stop being the old self. In the process of creation, the first function of the frontal lobe is to become self-aware. Because we have metacognitive capabilities, the power to observe our own thoughts and self, we can decide how we no longer want to be, which means we can think about how we don't want to act, feel, think. This ability to self-reflect allows us to scrutinize ourselves and then make a plan to modify our behaviors so we can produce more enlightened or desirable outcomes. Your attention is where you place your energy, aka what you focus on expands. So your attention is where you place your energy. To use attention to empower your life, you will have to examine what you've already created. This is where you begin to know thyself. You look at your beliefs about life, about yourself, others. You are what you are. You are where you are, and you are who you are because of what you believe about yourself. How freaking wild is that? Your beliefs are the thoughts that you keep consciously or unconsciously accepting as the law in your life. Isn't that crazy? So whether it's consciously or unconsciously, you're accepting these beliefs as though they are law, even if they are not. But your being doesn't know any better than to believe your thoughts. Whether you are aware of them or not, they are still affecting your reality. It's so important. It's so important. So if you truly want a new personal reality, start observing all the aspects of your present personality. Since they primarily operate below the level of conscious awareness, much like automatic software programs, you'll have to go within and look at these elements you probably haven't been aware of before. Given that your personality comprises how you think, how you act, and how you feel, you must pay attention to your unconscious thoughts, reflexive behaviors, and automatic emotional reactions. Put them under observation to determine if they are true and whether you want to continue to endorse them with your energy. Man, and it is like a little bit more complicated than just sometimes just like wanting to. Anyway, and we'll get into that. That's why there's meditations at the end, because sometimes you actually have to take yourself through an entire process in order to wash the subconscious like pollution from whatever past wounding or whatever past betrayals, or just straight up the cost of the wreckage, To become familiar with your unconscious states of mind and body, it takes an act of will, intention, and heightened awareness. If you become more aware, you will become more attentive. If you become more attentive, you will be more conscious. If you grow to be more conscious, you will notice more. And if you notice more, you have a greater ability to observe self and others, inner and outer elements of your reality. Ultimately, the more you observe, the more you awaken from the state of the unconscious mind into conscious awareness. The purpose of becoming self-aware is so that you no longer allow any thought, any action, or emotion that you don't want to experience to pass by your awareness. Thus, in time, your ability to consciously inhibit those states of being will stop the same firing and wiring of the old neural networks that are related to the old personality. And as a result of no longer recreating the same mind on a daily basis, you prune away the hardware that is related to the old self. In addition, by interrupting the feelings that are associated with those thoughts, you are no longer signaling genes in the same way. You are stopping the body from reaffirming itself as the same mind. This process is whereby you quite simply begin to lose your mind. Lose your mind, and the rest will follow. Oh, it's free your mind. Yeah. Okay, so as you develop the skill of becoming familiar with all aspects of your old self, you will ultimately become more conscious. Your goal here is to unlearn who you used to be so that you can free up energy to create a new life and a new personality. You can't create a new personal reality as the same personality that you were before. You have to become someone else. Metacognition is your first task in moving from your past to creating a new future. Number 2, creating a new mind to think about new ways of being. The second function of the frontal lobe is to create a new mind, to break out of the neural networks produced by the ways that your brain has been firing for years on end, and influence it to rewire in new ways. When we set aside time and private space to think about a new way of being, that is when the frontal lobe engages in creation. We can imagine fresh possibilities and ask ourselves important questions about what we really want, how and who we want to be, and what we want to change about ourselves and our circumstances. Because the frontal lobe has connections to all other parts of the brain, it is able to scan across all the neural circuits to seamlessly piece together stored bits of information in the form of networks of knowledge and experience. Then it picks and chooses among those neural circuits, combining them in a variety of ways to create a new mind. In doing that, it creates a model or internal representation that we see as a picture of our intended result. It makes sense, then, that the more knowledge we have, the greater the variety of neural networks we've wired, and the more capable we are of dreaming of more complex and detailed models. Which is why SeedSoilWater Spa has meditative visualization experiences, because your brain doesn't know the difference between something that you just are imagining and you're conjuring up through your own imagination versus a real experience. So yeah, maybe in your lineage, you never had abundance, but when you go and repeatedly experience it internally, experiencing what that feels like, getting happy about it, allowing your face to smile about it, feeling safe, being like, the relief of always having more than enough. You can have that whole experience internally, and now you have just created the grid internally. Now you've created the grid. Maybe you didn't have a grid for that before. Maybe you never had the grid for like a healthy, whole, faithful, loyal, fun, affectionate relationship. You can set the grid in your mind just by going through the visualization meditation experience or writing it down, scripting about it. And now, just like what it just said, you're creating more neural circuits that allow your mind to create a new mind based on a new grid that has been set in your head. There's something called if I remember right, it's the reticular activating system, the RAS. And this is something where it's just one of the ways that our minds functions is that it looks for proof. And when our mind finds proof of something in existence, it then kind of takes that as gospel. So the point is, let's say you are focusing on how your life is now full of healthy, rooted, good, solid friendships and good relationships with people. So what you want to do is anytime that there's even a little tiny symptom of that happening, playing out in your life, you want to pay attention to it and give it a lot of credit and even write it down. Proof that this is happening in your life, no matter how little it is, you want to pay attention to it because you are telling your brain, look, it's really happening. This is really happening. This is the reality we're living in. It's kind of like when you start shopping for a new car and you see one that you really like, and then when you leave the dealership, you see them everywhere on the road. It's like, I've never seen that car before. I saw it today. Now I'm seeing it everywhere because your brain had like some sort of an emotional or like an elevated connection to that moment with seeing that vehicle, and you liked it or whatever, and now you see it everywhere. And that can happen for positive and negatives. So we want to make sure that when it's a positive thing, we are programming our brain to pay attention and see, and we're like, look how everything works out for me. Look at how look at these loving relationships I have in my life. Look at how people, show up for me. Look at how I'm supported and valued and loved. And then next thing you know, it's now the programming. That's what you look for. It's what you identify with. It's what you magnetize to. And anything that's out of alignment kind of naturally just either falls away or straight up repels, like gone, done. Okay, where were we? Back to this. Because the frontal lobe has connections to all the other parts of the brain, it's able to scan. Okay, we already read that part. So it makes sense then that the more knowledge we have, so the more times you put yourself into experiences, even through meditation, visualization, or just through your own imagination, that we have the greater variety of neural networks that we've wired to, and we're more capable of dreaming of complex and detailed models of creating new self and therefore life. To initiate this step of creation, it's always good to move into a state of wonder, of contemplation, of possibility, reflection, or speculation by asking yourself some important questions. Open-ended inquiries are the most provocative approach to producing a fluent stream of consciousness. What would it be like to Okay, let's get into this. Let's do this for real right now. What would it be like to have more than enough time and money freedom that every day you just wake up and you actually get to just decide, what do you want to do? What do I want to do today? I have so much flexibility in my time and my money freedom that I'm actually not like required to do anything. I have my responsibilities, I have my things that I do, but it's all on my own timing and in my own way. Wow, what an amazing experience that is. what would I even do with myself? And start visualizing and walking through your perfect day of what would it be like to be free. It doesn't matter that you know whether that could happen or how it would happen for you. It doesn't matter if you can figure it all out cognitively based on your current circumstances. The beautiful thing about the infinite intelligence is that the infinite intelligence can rearrange life in a way that you would never have imagined. And you're like, wow, but it works and it's amazing. And I don't know how it happened, but it's so good and it's functioning and everybody is okay, you know, especially for those of us that are parents and we have families or we have complex relationships. Like, we can still dream into this and make our selection of our dream life and just allow infinite intelligence to bring the pieces together just simply by us selecting concepts. Like, I'm just so relieved now that there's always more than enough. I'm just so just fulfilled now that I get to spend my time in a way that is fulfilling and freeing to me. And I actually experience rest now. Okay, another question. What is a better way to be something, something, something? What is a better way to be me? What is a better way to be a parent? What is a better way to be the business person that I am? Okay, next question. What if I was this person living in this reality? This is something that I actually, since I was younger, I would just look at different people's lives and I'd be like, if we're all just kind of like a collection of cells with the soul in there, and like, how come some people get that life and some people get this life? You know, and if you were raised up reading the Bible, there's a scripture there that said, or even if you weren't, just the point is the Bible says, he's no respecter of persons. And what that means is pretty much like we all have equal opportunity to the spirit of life that can transform all things. Yeah, we all come from a different starting point and we might all have different levels of pollution and wounding and variations of enslavement and false programming, whatever. But the point is, when you actually choose to tap into that spirit of life that is outside of religion, that's bigger than religion, and it's the spirit of life that actually transforms all things, you can have access to whatever your dream reality is. And quite frankly, for me, the hardest part is figuring out what the heck my dream reality was, because I'm like, I don't even know. I'm so used to just surviving and doing what I had to do because it was my responsibilities or because I needed money and, you know, like just programmed to be a slave. I didn't even know, you know? So it's this weird experience of like, well, what do I even want to do? What would I want to do? What would, you know, and thinking about how like for a while things I was choosing, it was like I didn't want it to require any sort of human relationship because I'd been so wounded by human relationships that I'm like, I don't want to do anything that requires me to have to trust people, risk being loved or loving somebody. Like, that is way too scary, you know? And then as I've been on this journey, love has been leading me, and now things are different and it's pretty beautiful. And that's full circle back to what I said at the beginning of this video, that like huge season change, things are changing, and I am fully in surrender mode to the path, to my divine path, to my divine identity, like releasing in whatever way is about to, about to break out. Spirit break out. Woo! Okay, who in history do I admire and what were his or her admirable traits? So those are some good journaling prompts. You could totally pause this and go do that. The answers that come will naturally form a new mind, because as you sincerely respond to these questions, your brain will begin to work in new ways. By beginning to mentally rehearse the new ways of being, you start rewiring yourself neurologically to a new mind. And the more you can remind yourself, the more you'll change your brain and your life. Whether you want to be a wealthy person or a better parent or a great wizard, for that matter, it might not be a bad idea to fill your brain with knowledge on your chosen subject so that you have more building blocks to make a new model of the reality you want to embrace. Every time you acquire information, you're adding new synaptic connections that will serve as the raw materials to break the pattern of your brain firing in the same way. The more you learn, the more ammo you have to unseat the old personality. Woo! That seems like a good spot to leave this here. And I'm going to pick up on the next one next time. Check out the playlist, subscribe, share with your friends, save this video to one of your own playlists so that you don't lose the channel. And I look forward to seeing you back here. Be blessed, be well, be free.